almost 10 years, it seems to me an experience of compounded exclusion, what is happening in this case. And I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts as to how this can be resolved and, again, why it's important for you as IDSN members to persist with the request for accreditation.
Thank you, Chair. I come to this event with a lot of burden on my shoulders. The speakers before me are people who waited for a long time before this committee, and they have all crossed the bridge. I'm on the other side of the bridge as an individual, as an organization working in a particular country, and as the executive committee member of the International Dalit Solidarity Network, which has been having its application pending with this committee for the past 9 years. We have the distinction, as stated by others, that we are the longest pending application before the United Nations NGO committee. The burden is to make sure that our hope is not let down. The burden is to make sure that there are no further reprisals for having spoken the truth to all of you today. I come here only because we believe in human rights, and human rights is based on hope. And it is that hope which brings us back to this committee to speak the truth and hope that the truth will lead to a process of change in this committee. Well, the first sign of hope is that you have, in your march towards transparency, moved on to webcasting. Congratulations for the decision you have taken on behalf of a number of people who will never be able to reach the corridors of this building. It is ironical that we speak of shrinking civil society space in the state from which I come, in my country. It is ironical that we face shrinking civil society space in the country itself. And it's ironical that there is shrinking civil society space in this gateway, where the gatekeeper ensures that you are stopped, you are questioned, you are re-questioned, you are re-questioned after 5 years, questions that were asked earlier, and there is nobody with a conscience to stand on our side. What is the International Dalit Solidarity Network? The International Dalit Solidarity Network grew out of our reflections on the 50th anniversary of the UDHR, and realizing that the human rights of over 260 million people from different countries around the world, drawn from different continents around the world, were facing a discrimination, a gross violation of human rights based on a system called caste, and which this institution had since then not been sensitive to. And therefore, we formed IDSN in London in the year 2000, March 2000. We were engineered towards forming the IDSN because of the openings that 1997, first the third committee in Geneva did on considering caste to be brought within the ambit of the consideration of the UN third committee. That was the first door that was opened to us. Had you not opened that door, we would have never come here with our application. We followed working with the UN Subcommission on Human Rights, with a number of UN special rapporteurs who came out with reports on principles and guidelines on caste-based discrimination which were passed. We went to Durban. We participated in the World Conference Against Racism in Durban. We were not successful, but we were successful in making the global community aware of the phenomenon of a gross violation of human rights which the global community was being sensitive to. This is what brought us in the year 2007 to the NGO committee with our application. We have since been pending for 9 years with 82 questions, the last 2 questions coming this year. I don't need to repeat what has been said. It is the same questions because there is no creativity. Creativity is lost when you come to 82 questions. But the politicization is that all these questions come from one country. And that is serious. And that is what I leave to your conscience to respond. We have had questions that were raised after the committee is in session. We respond to the question the next day. On the fourth day, you have further 2 questions asked. I don't want to get into what the questions are, but this is the pattern that was there. You had questions for which answers are available. Please go to the website of the IDSN. I feel very bad to talk about our own website, and you will find answers. And you will find there all the contribution that the United Nations has made to the phenomenon of caste-based discrimination documented. I want to thank and recall at this time the number of organizations that came forward during these 9 years period and earlier to ensure our participation in Geneva. Not very much our participation in the UN headquarters, but more the participation in Geneva. And what have we done? We have, over the years, participated in a number of sessions and ensured that issues of Dalit women, issues of Dalit children, issues of caste-based slavery, issues of education, access to justice, issues of caste and business, issues of manual scavenging, carrying shit on the head, forced prostitution, etc., were all raised on the floor of the Human Rights Council with wonderful statements from the Secretary General of the United Nations as well as successive High Commissioners for Human Rights in Geneva. Powerful statements, one after the other. We have worked in ensuring that the UN principles and guidelines have been, at least as draft, been accepted. A number of references through resolutions that have been mooted through the work of IDSN and its members. We have participated in side events year after year, in the 34th session, in the 31st session, in the 29th session, in the 26th session, in the 23rd session, and I can go on. And most of these are along with state governments, along sometimes with the Office of the High Commission. What is it that has gone wrong with our application? We have been funded by the European Union. We also have made progress within the European Union in terms of raising the issue. And I can tell you, these are not issues related to any country in one continent. These are issues of caste-based discrimination across the globe in countries that are more than one continent based. We have had recommendations, we have had special rapporteur visits, contributions to the UPR, contributions to the treaty bodies, you name it, we have been there. But why? Why is it that the conscience has not moved? This we say, we are forced to say, and if I don't say it, I will not be truthful, that this is a reprisal. And this is a reprisal leading to the exclusion of millions of people who want to be included in the UN committee, into the portals of the UN, contributing to strengthening the sensitivity of this UN body to the violation of human rights faced by 260 million people, women, men, children, aged, transgenders, etc. And therefore, I would leave it to others who have experience to come up with solutions that are long-lasting. But it is important that you also trace the parallel statements of some of the members who do this blocking exercise on the floor of the Human Rights Council in terms of resolutions relating to civil society participation. The same members who raise questions here fight the terminology of human rights defenders on the floor of the Human Rights Council. I think one major change that is called for is that this committee has people like members who are here, state parties who are here, who have had the courage to speak loud, to say that they stand on the side of civil society, on the side of civil society that they may not agree to, but on the side of civil society which will reflect the heartbeat of the poorest of the poor in this globe. Thank you.
Thank you for those words. I think before we move on to a few suggestions for how civil society participation could be encouraged, and specifically improving working methods of the NGO committee. I'd like to just invite anyone from the floor who might wish to make a comment or ask a question of those speakers who have spoken so far. Please, at the back.
Good morning. My name is Tiphagne. I'm from Nepal. I'm so glad to be here today. I have been coming to different United Nations, different community meetings. This is the first time I heard about Dalit issue. I'm from Dalit. When I was growing up, I experienced injustice and discrimination every day in my life. And even yesterday in Nepal, 2 10-year-old Dalit boys and girls were raped and they were killed. No one talked about this kind of issue. I think I'm so glad that I'm here, and thank you for bringing this issue. Look at this room. UN should be equal home for everybody, from grassroots level to policy level. And who come here? How many people are here from grassroots level and development countries? You can imagine that. I was there in the export community meeting other day. There was not even a single person who brought the issue about this kind of problem. So I hope this meeting will do something to bring the issue of grassroots level. If we don't bridge the gap between grassroots and policy level, I don't think we can reach the sustainable goal. That's why I'm very glad to be here, and I want to work with a different community and a different group, and I want to participate in the different meetings, and I want to be speaker because I have been working for Dalit and women for 25 years, and I want to speak my experience. And I need to be the ECOSOC credited to be a speaker and to be member of the community, and that doesn't make sense. You know, it has to be emulated, like how everyone get the access to be here and to raise the voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If it's okay with you, we'll take a couple more and then ask you to intervene. Yes, please.
Is it on? Yes. And my name is Amadeus Shabinsky. I'm from the World Information Transfer. One question to you, sir, from IDSN. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it's unorthodox to ask such a question. And then I have 2 questions for CPJ and for the legal resource. If I'm not mistaken, I think you stated that there is one country that is standing in the way of IDSN. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm not wrong, would we be able to know the name of this member state? And to CPJ, as well as to the Legal Resource Center, what is the biggest obstacle that CPJ and the Legal Resource Center can foresee as its most worrisome conflict towards its membership within ECOSOC? Thank you.
That was cheeky, 2 questions in one. Any further question at this point? Yes.
Thank you, Eleonora. It's more like a comment and, so a question. Elizabeth Da Costa from the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights here in New York. The High Commissioner was actually mandated by the UN Human Rights Council 2 years ago to produce a report on civil society space. And at that time, we published in the report a little update on the NGOs committee. You can find it there, paragraph 57. And the words that the High Commissioner used was confusing and alienating to refer to the various requirements and modalities of the NGOs committee or ECOSOC accreditation process. The High Commissioner also issued a recommendation in that report that we are very happy to see it's on the way of being implemented, which is to increase the transparency of the work of the committee through webcasting of the meetings. A new report on the same topic on civil society space is going to be so prepared and issued next year. And I think my colleagues who will be working on the report will soon start to issue a call for contributions both to member states through the permanent missions in Geneva and also to civil society organizations. And I think that will be a great opportunity also to further discuss the reform needed. My question will be on, there was one speaker who referred to ECOSOC accreditation status as a gateway. And my questions will be, ECOSOC accreditation status is definitely, we all know it, a very important gate to access the UN. Now, if that gate, as the speaker said, is very narrow, what are other gates? Are there other gates, and how much have you been using those other gates? Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's take one more, and then I'll come back to the speakers.
Well, I wanted to follow up on this question to Mr. Tiphagne. I remember the participation of your group in the World Conference and in Durban.
Felice, can you forgive me? Could you present yourself just for
those
in the room who don't know?
Felice Geer, the Jacob Blaustein Institute. Looking at the NGO committee, I'm wondering if you said all the questions came from one country, and there was no one with a conscience to speak up for us. So my question is the following: did that country serve as a member continuously all of those years that you applied? Number one. Did you approach any other country to speak up? And did they actually refuse, or were they simply not engaged? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So there are questions to you, Henri, and to you, Janet. Janet, do you want to go first? And to Robert. Okay. Who wants to go first? Henri, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah. I was extremely polite on this floor. My dress could have given me away, but we speak the truth, and India was the country which has continuously raised these 82 questions. And having said this, I think it is important to not keep quiet, to also state that within the country, I am told in writing, in a court of law, that what has gone wrong with my organization in my country is that I communicate and document and pass information to the UN special rapporteurs on court, along with meeting embassies. I'm saying this because the chair said this is a conversation, and the conversation should take us forward. I think today should signal the day when we don't talk about the past, but we would be able to talk about a future where these past events will not recur within this committee. And that is why the truth is being spoken to. Secondly, the question that is asked, and it is a very interesting question, are there other gates? Of course, thank you for the question. If the other gates were not there, we would never have been able to survive from 2000 till 2017, ensuring that the issue of caste-based discrimination was appreciated by the Human Rights Council, earlier by the Commission on Human Rights, the UN Subcommission, various treaty bodies, various special rapporteurs, years after years, UPR recommendations by a host of countries across the globe. All this has been possible because we have taken the floor on behalf of a number of our members. We are made up of members with network members in different countries, as well as human rights organizations and members from caste-affected countries. And therefore, others allow us to take the floor. Of course, questions were also asked about how we took the floor. Questions were also asked about how we sponsored a side event. Questions were also asked about who funded a side event. I think there is a limit. Side events where the Office of the High Commission was present. A side event where the High Commissioner for Human Rights was present. So there are a number of open doors. Our difficulty is that we are more of an embarrassment to other NGOs, but we never so far consciously let our voice not be heard in the fora that were open to us in Geneva. I think we opened all the doors. We used all the doors that were there. It's a pain on other organizations, getting an accreditation, making sure that their list is not full. Those were the difficulties. But more than that, it is humiliating. It is humiliating that you are humiliated because of a violation in your respective countries. And those who are humiliated out of a violation are humiliated at this gate by those who are claiming to be gatekeepers. And that is what I hope will change the scenario. I think these were the two. And did that country serve continuously? Of course, and I'm perplexed to know how a country could be serving there continuously.
For a lack of fixed terms as members, which will be something Maren will talk to, I'm sure. Janet, please.
The two questions I'm going to answer together because I think that they are related. The threat that I see most strongly is the threat of legitimacy. I come from a global south country, and the whole remoteness of the international human rights institutional arrangement is something that is constantly needing to be tackled, and the voice and the agenda of people in the global south is not coming strong